incredible. I mean, thanks to this coronavirus, we are able to meet with different people from different countries in the world. Jason is from United States. Said is in India. Nadia is in Geneva.
I'm in Prague.
Yeah.
There's an attendee, Sabrina. She's all the way in I forgot the town, but she's far away, another time zone.
I'm from Geneva.
Oh, that's it. I think we can start and hoping that people will join. So for those who don't know me, my name is Elias. I'm career counselor at IUG. I lead the career center. So basically, my job is to help students to find a job, to find an internship, but also to define their motivations, interests, and goals. My goal as career counselor is to help students to launch their career. At the Career Center, we organize career seminars and companies presentations, and this webinar is one of them. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the situation right now. So the job market is completely down, and recruitment as well. I was talking a few days ago with one of my friends who works for the biggest job board in Switzerland, and their business is living difficult times. I mean, they do not receive at all job offers, which is really bad. Many companies are suffering from the situation and are firing people as well. However, I really feel confident that the Swiss market is able to stand up very quickly, and that the Swiss economy will be fine within few months. But according to my experience, any job seeker should use this time to work on their work, their professional projects, their network, and improve their competencies by learning, by following courses, by attending webinars and seminars. And this is also my job as career counselor. I'm here to help you and to help students to find the correct and the best trainings and webinars and seminars to improve their competencies. Okay, as usual, I talk a lot, but I will let our guests today to introduce themselves, to talk a little bit about their path, their careers. Maybe we can start with you, Jason.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. So my name is Jason Ullman. Let's see, this is 8 years ago. So in 2012, I began my MBA program at the International University in Geneva. I did a concentration in finance. So my background, it started right after college. So I'm going to date myself, or you can back into my age here, but I graduated in 2008. So I entered the job force right at the first financial crisis. I guess we're in the second one now. So that was interesting. I worked for a company called State Street at the time. State Street is the largest custodian. If you are in the job force now, or you are interested in, financials, that the custodian is a bank for other banks in a sense. So they custody assets for all the large companies, Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, any of their investment products typically get custodied or held within State Street. So they're the largest. So I started working there. I was a fund accountant. So I did accounting for mutual funds. I then transitioned to, and this was in New Jersey at the time. So if you look at the US, the East Coast, then transitioned to a new role in New York City, working for a money manager. So I stayed in that financial path. I was moving along okay. I worked long hours and I worked really hard, but I had goals in mind. Really wanted to move up the chain quickly. So I worked at a money manager. I kind of brought in my experience in finance, got some more facing roles. So I worked on my social skills as well and sort of negotiations as well, trying to onboard new clients. But then I hit a wall, and I had an opportunity to move to Switzerland. My girlfriend at the time, wife now, moved to Switzerland. She's from Brazil, and I'm from the U.S. obviously. So we spoke English together, a little bit of Spanish, but no French. So I moved to Switzerland, thinking to myself, okay, this is a great opportunity. I can take a pause from the workforce, try and accelerate my learning, get back into a more focused style of learning now that I've been in the job force. I know what I want to learn. Typically, when you go to a master's program, what differentiates you from college is it's more focused on a specific area. So I was able to focus more on what I wanted to learn. So I did a financial concentration, lived in Geneva I did a different style program. So I came in the winter, and I started out slowly because I hadn't been in school for a while. So I did just 2 courses for the first semester, and then I did a summer program, and then I did a full curriculum for the next year. So I was there for a year and a half, and I think they still offer the year programs, if I'm correct. So that was great. So I actually wanted to spend some extra time in Geneva. I traveled a lot. It was I lived in Carouge, which was, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes away, 10 minutes by bike maybe. And it was great. I learned French while I was there. Kind of forgot some at this point, but it's easy when you're immersed in that culture. I had friends from countries I'd never meet people from in the U.S. So my best friends I made there was from Iran. I had friends from France, from Azerbaijan, from Russia. I still keep in touch with all of them. So I definitely developed amazing connections with all the students there. I get nostalgic every time I look at my Facebook timeline and I see some pictures from Geneva and all the travels and things we did. And, you know, the student body is great. There's a lot of like after school or really before school programs, depending on when your classes are. So we always had, you know, weekly outings. We did, I played tennis while I was there. It's a popular sport in Switzerland. So I had a leg up there. So I joined the League C national team right behind the UN. And we won the conference one year, got to travel a lot. So that was fun. And then after grad school, returned back to the US. And then I got a job offer right away from my first company, State Street. And this time I moved into a specialized product type. So the MBA definitely helped me get placed there. So I worked with ETFs. And if you know what ETFs are, those are exchange traded funds. So I worked in a client-facing role. I did some operations work, but mostly projects. So I learned the product inside and out. I worked there for 2 or 3 years when I returned, and then I took a new role at JP Morgan Chase. They are the premier custodian. They're not the largest yet, but they will be soon. But it is certainly an investment bank. I've joined a product team, so now I'm in a management role. So now my role has to do with sales, product development, client pitches, you name it. I don't do a lot of number crunching anymore. I don't really back into NAVs or market values anymore, but I still can do it, obviously, and I need to when I run reporting. But I guess what I'll end with is, since grad school, my career the trajectory made more of a vertical line. Where I moved from starting out of college and then moving up into right before I went to grad school was kind of on a horizontal plane, but with an upward trajectory. I was able to take a pause for a year and a half. I had a job offer and I got lucky. The timing was good as well, but I had a job offer right when I returned from a company that I had left, actually. It wasn't even the company that I, had departed from when I went to grad school. And then it's kind of made an upward progression and it's going great. The lessons you learn in grad school, how to stay focused, how to build relationships. Those are all important. Those are things you take with you, through your career. So I've been out of school now for 8 years. I still look back at some of the projects and some of the long hours spent at university just plugging away, and it's definitely something you'll keep with you for your career. So I don't know if you want to do questions or if you want to move on.
Wait,
or do...
I think, and I prefer to let the question at the end. And I also have some questions for you, Jason. We'll come back at the end.
Sure.
Maybe Katerina, what about you? How are you doing, and how is the situation in Prague?
Yes, so maybe I'll start my journey imagine that I'm a bachelor student in Prague, and I studied international business, and I thought about the master program. I also already considered going abroad for the total master program, but then I heard about IUG and great combination which my home university offered. It was a double degree. So basically, I decided to go to master program, taught in English here in Prague. So I studied the first year of the master program here in Prague, and then I was allowed to choose one of the universities, and I already had IUG in my mind. So yeah, that's it. I just, I had to make a lot of effort because there was only one spot allowed to go to Geneva. So I studied a lot the first year, and then I was allowed to move to Geneva. And I'm still very happy that I made a good decision. I really have great memories to IUG. And I also have great comparison of the two education systems, right? So if I compare the Czech system, it's more about memorizing a lot of things, which sometimes do not make sense. Whereas in IUG, I like much better this approach because all the things are practical. There are a lot of case studies. Most importantly, there are professors from real world, right? From top companies, true experts. So I enjoyed the 1 year in Geneva to the fullest. I learned a lot, really a lot. And in funny way, I would call it, because in Prague, it was only about memorizing some things. And in Geneva, it was more about working on different projects, a lot of group work, a lot of insights from the experts from the field, I would call it. So I definitely would recommend IUG to everyone, at least, from this eastern part of Europe, because the difference is huge. And that's not everything. There are also great people at IUG, not only the professors, but also the other staff, very kind, helpful. So, I was afraid of the visa arrangement and all these things, but, everyone is very helpful, and there's definitely no need to worry. And last but not least, Jason already mentioned the great group of friends. So I still, recall all our parties and the great relationships we had, and a lot of fun. So this is another aspect which I really appreciate, and it's like, people from all different countries coming together and enjoying the time in Geneva, learning together. So yeah, and then basically, since the program was taught in the evening, it was the international business, so I continued in my path. I was lucky enough to get an internship. So I spent the day in the office, and then I went to IUG in the evening. So it was sometimes demanding to manage all the things, but it definitely helped me in my career path. So this is another great benefit of IUG, that you have no problem to find an internship during your studies. Yeah, and then basically I was still at IUG in Geneva, and I already got my first full-time job offer. So I would say definitely that IUG played a crucial role, because, still in the Czech Republic, it's not very common that everyone travels for such a long time. Usually people have only Erasmus. but 1 year or the full study program from abroad is not very common here. So I think, you know, this was one of the things which decided about the job offer which I got. Yeah, and I entered Jacobsdag Egberts. If you know the coffee and tea player, we produce brands such as Jacobs, Pickwick, L'Or, Genko, Mokona, etc. So we are a global company, and I really appreciate all what I learned at IUG, because I'm in, you know, on daily basis I'm in touch with foreigners. So I use all the language skills which I learned, and also I manage some projects. You know, I'm responsible for bringing new products on the market as a brand manager in marketing. So there's a lot of project management, communication skills, organizational skills, and I think you know, this is pretty much what I also learned at IUG. And last but not least, we had a great course on digital marketing, for instance. And in my job, I was appointed the role as digital marketing champion. So I looked at the notes for my lectures, and actually I use all the things which I learned at IUG, right? So this was really great. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look back to your path and your time at IUG, I don't know if there was a career counselor at that time, but what would you expect from a career counselor as a student?
First of all, some help with the CV layout, you know, just to emphasize your strengths. Maybe some invitations to job events or some festivals, etc.
Okay.
Or maybe some proactive, you know, search of job offers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was lucky enough because my previous boss from Prague had his friend in Geneva who had a startup. So this is how I got the internship, right? So it was
Okay.
based on contacts.
But just to let me know if there was a career counselor or not at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
was. Mm.
Okay. Thank you, Katerina.
No problem.
Nadia. So Nadia is in her office in United Nations in Geneva.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't. I'm working till 7 today. So, hi everyone. My name is Nadia. I'm currently interning in the UNOG department, but more in the specific the library building, and we're more in charge of like I'm on the team that does the cultural activities, so the cultural diplomacy with permanent missions and the conference primers, which takes place, for example, this whole week is the Human Rights Council. So we're constantly collecting the documents, publishing them online. So it's very interesting from that side. My time at IUG was a very memorable one. I did my bachelor's there, and I'm currently doing my master's from how much I loved it. I'm originally Syrian, and I studied my high school in Saudi Arabia in a British school. So it was very interesting to come here because even though I already had the international background, IUG was completely different from its curriculum, from its professors, from the people you meet, from the way they speak, the networking that takes place is completely different in the sense that it's the curriculum is so heavy that it prepares you for anything that you're going to go into. So for me, I took international relations, and the good thing about it is, so I don't bore you, I'm just going to share my screen. Sorry. The good thing about it was that the professors come from the field that, you know, most of us are interested in. And you can do, for example, minor degrees while you're doing your international relations. And I did mine in media and communication. And I found it very interesting because I use that minor a lot today from the things I learned from my media courses at IUG because, you know, I mean, communication is like a requirement everywhere now. And the same thing with my master's. You can apply to go into different courses, not specifically stick to the same program. Of course, you have to do the main courses for the IR, but this is very good for you to expand your opportunities, because I was hesitant between the public organizations, international organizations, and the private sector. And I could say you build your own journey at IUG, and you do student activities, like Jason said, like the after school activities, or during school, like student council, charity organization, fundraising. These are all small things that add up at the end to really make you, I wouldn't say a better person, because we are each our own person, but a more experienced person. Professors and external speakers that are introduced. I was privileged enough to have Ilyas as my career counselor, and so he was always bringing in external speakers that either they were offering internships or they were giving advice on how to get into the organization. And of course, being in Switzerland, that's a whole different spectrum of opportunities. I mean, you've seen from previous two speakers. I wrapped up a few points, which I mean would help you in the job market today. Now that I'm in the UN, they hold a lot of career talks, and if I compiled them all from HR, this is what I would present to you. So always go in with a value, like what value do you stand for? Of course, each one of us right now on the call are from different places in the world. We all have different values, and this is very much appreciated when you're looking for a job and putting it in your CV or putting it in your resume or your letter of motivation. Always have 3 words which you resonate with and you feel like this is yourself. Networking, IUG is the fantastic place for it. Even though it's a small uni, people could see that as a bad thing, but it's actually a better thing because you have this one-to-one interaction with your professors. Reputation, your own self-reputation, how others see you. First impression, I remember my supervisor told me that he made his first impression of me the first 40 seconds I entered the room. Quite scary because I remember being very loud and yeah. But your first impression is very important that you make on people and that you make, especially to your professors or to the people around you. And being yourself, being bold, being whoever you want to be, and volunteering and activities around Geneva is it's very satisfactory because it adds up and it adds enrichment to your, it adds enrichment to your CV, to your experience, to what you get up to. Job satisfaction, if you enjoy what you're doing, then that's all that's important. But if you should always research for what you want specifically and look for that in the field, because then you're more likely to get that specific thing that you wanted than just to apply for the sake of getting an internship. And value goes back to the value proposition, but this one's very important because it resonates back to our culture. And being in this department, I realized cultural diplomacy, emotional intelligence, all these sort of things are very, very important, and I'm sure we all have them. So use them to your advantage. Use where you're from and the language you speak as an advantage. And just to assure many people who haven't started an IUG yet, they say French is important in this country, but English is kind of resonating and it's becoming the main language of working. So perfect your grammar, perfect your speaking capabilities. Opportunity scanning. Look at where and how you'll get into that entry point. So the UN system, as well as international organization, have a thing called the 4 quadrants, which means that there's south and north, and then female and male, and they always try to fill up the percentage based on how much they have people from the north, meaning the OECD plus DAC countries, and then people from the south, like for example, like myself, and being a female. And don't be disheartened because you're going to get a lot of rejections, but it's rejections that build you to the person you are. Of course, luck. I'm one to believe in luck a lot because it's not just something that is given to you by life. It's if you put in the effort and you put in the preparation, then it meets opportunity. And of course, just being your authentic self and using the advantages in IUG of working as a team, connecting with people, networking, making new friends, keeping in contact with your professors. These are all things that will add up in the future and really, really become successful. And yeah, that's it for me. If you have any questions.
I have a question for you, Nadia. You talk a lot about the UN, and many people here are interested about it, about a job in the international field. What or could you tell us a few words about your job, the environment, how is to work and intern in the United Nations?
So it's I could say the environment's very tense. It's very stressful because everyone's like everywhere doing something. It feels like it's like everyone's doing something constantly. There's always something new popping up. It's very exciting. It keeps you on your feet. But sorry, I missed your second part of the question.
Yeah, but what about your own job? What do you do? What is the
Oh yeah,
most
as an
difficult for
intern,
you?
yeah. As an intern, I respect the fact that they don't treat you as an intern. You're given the responsibility of doing tasks that go beyond your capabilities, and at times you feel like you can't do it, but supervisors are always there to help you. For example, like me, I was given all day to contact missions, the ambassadors straight away, their phone numbers, and it felt quite stressful being so young in my career, like so young in the career to be doing such a thing. But I respect the responsibility they give. And yeah, they don't treat you as an intern, and that's a good thing, despite the fact that you don't get paid, which people see as a very much of a downfall that for not applying, but you get paid in other things. You get paid in experience, you get paid in the people you meet around the palais, especially. Like you go to get a coffee and you don't know who's in front of you in the line, for example, you know? So it's all these small things that's very important. From my specific department, what's been very interesting is the support they give you for afterwards, after your internship. They always ask you, what are you going to do after? And you show them your interest in specific fields. They try to basically path the way for you, not give it to you specifically, but say there's an event. I'm very interested in the UNCHR in the future. So I've told that to my supervisor, and she made sure that any projects to do with UNCHR, I'm going to be on the team. This way, I'm networking, I'm getting my foothold into the organization, but from the outside. So it's interesting in that area of the side. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Katerina, I have a question for you. You mentioned the fact that you found your first internship in Geneva thanks to your network. What was the most difficult during your job research?
Actually, I didn't research the job because I already, in the Czech Republic, it's normal that if you are a student of the University of Economics, you can schedule your timetable based on your needs. So basically, every student here works since the second year of bachelor program. So I already worked for 1.5 years as the office manager, some basic job, and one of these managing partners had a friend in Geneva with a startup who needed some help. So basically, there was no search for me.
And during your internship in Geneva, what was the most difficult? Nadia mentioned the fact that French is not really mandatory to find a job. It was the same for you, or?
Yeah, I would say so. Okay. Yeah, definitely, because French is my second language, but still I had to make a lot of effort to force myself to speak, because everyone in Geneva speaks English. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can add to the language part, I mean, it's very important to have languages, because I'm currently enrolled in the UN language section. It's for free for interns, so I'm improving my French. It's an asset. So do learn the language, but it's not a requirement. Perfect a language you already have. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, agree.
And if you have to comment the Swiss labor market, what would you say? What is the most difficult? Is there something particular different from your country?
Well, I think it's like a circle. You need some apartment, some address, then you can get all the visa, etc. Without visa, you won't get the job. So it's very difficult, I think, to get into any job offer, because I also looked at some internships afterwards, or some first jobs after I finished the degree. and it's really difficult to renew the visa and find some job. But I have friends who did it, so it's all, it's possible. Yeah.
And for you, Jason, do you have any advice you would give to a young professional? Since I consider you as a senior professional.
I would say have an open mind at everything you approach. So just because you're hyper-focused on one area of your career growth doesn't mean every other opportunity that comes along isn't something you can take advantage of. And what you need to do is find your strengths, take advantage of those, and exploit your strengths. So I'll give you an example. Early in my career, I used to crunch a lot of numbers, and I got very good with Excel. When I moved into like a product type role where I had to step away from crunching numbers, being in an operations role, I was able to step back because it was one of my strengths and help out with some of the teams that actually support me in putting data together for presentations and pitches. So just because you don't, it's not exactly what you want to do, doesn't mean you can't leverage your strengths. And eventually, actually, you will become interested in any path that you do go down. So right now, I'm super happy with my job. When I first joined, I was a little stressed about being in the front of clients and potential clients and doing pitches and kind of a sales role, that's for a lot of people. It wasn't for me from the beginning, but now I totally enjoy it.
Katerina mentioned to talk before about the fact that she are currently using her competencies that she got at IUG in Geneva in her job. What about you?
Sorry, I flipped off the screen. Could you give me that again?
Yeah, I mean, do you actually right now currently using the competencies that you got during your time in Geneva and IUG?
Yeah. So one of my favorite course, I don't know if the teacher's still there, was negotiations. That is something where
with Mr. Silic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a course where you kind of step away from books and having to memorize things word for word, and there's no math unless you need to put numbers to some sort of negotiation. But you actually learn like real world like back and forth dialogue needed, right? To find a common ground with people. And when you're in a foreign country or another country with people from all over the world, finding that common ground, building those relationships, that's something that will always come to your advantage. So my team is based in Boston, Massachusetts, but half my team is in Dublin, Ireland, and we have a small section in the UK. And yeah, we share a language as a commonality, but culturally they are different, and time zones, they're different. So learning how to find that common ground, respect each other's differences, certainly plays a huge advantage into how I'm working every day. Mm-hmm. That's a great course, though. If anyone has the opportunity to take it, highly recommended.
And for you, Katerina, accepting your technical skills or the courses and things that you're learning during the courses, is there any soft skills that you developed during your time in Geneva and you are using now in your work?
I think it's mainly the culture sensitivity Jason already mentioned, because I'm, also in a global company working with a lot of nationalities. So it's really important, and it's the most important soft skill, I would say. Mm-hmm. So we will learn how to cope with other people from other countries, and this is crucial for your career.
Mm-hmm. And for you guys, Jason and Katerina, what is, according your opinion, the most competencies that could be useful today for a young professional? What do you advise to develop?
I think it's being agile. because we are in changing environment, and we can see it. We never know what can happen, and you need to be able to adapt. And this is maybe one of the other soft skills what Geneva will teach you. And you just need to, you will come to different country, different environment, and just need to adapt. So I think you'll take advantage of this in your whole life.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Being agile, being able to pivot, being able to diversify yourself. Certainly, those are key things to success. Yeah, totally agree. Those are spot on for me as well.
Mm-hmm. And for you, Nadia, the fact that you work with many different people, how do you deal with diversity?
You have to accept it. So you have to understand different cultures. And I mean, as they said, being agile is part of understanding different cultures. Understanding how people communicate is very important. And I think it's one of the competencies of the UN in any job application. It's communication is the first one. And that's because they want you to make sure that you're able to communicate with people easily, understandably. And I can say that the negotiation class is seriously an amazing class that teaches you communication. And also there's one that's outside of IR, but I took it called sales strategies. It's related more to sales, but I've been using that more in the international field because it's about how you sell yourself to people, how you sell yourself to communicating in a diverse world. I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm. You guys all work in different fields, and could you tell us maybe a few words about the last recruitment process you passed through, just to have an idea about how is the recruitment process in your fields?
Yeah, I can start off.
Yeah.
So how do I say this? So we're hiring still amidst the whole pandemic. The process is different. I think now what you look for in a candidate, you can have more scrutiny on a candidate. There's a larger job there's a larger pool of candidates. You can now look for someone who is more specific to the role, but the most important thing we look for is somebody that is for lack of a better word, go-getter. Somebody who doesn't need hand-holding, someone who is ambitious, someone who is looking to take on a challenge, who wants to learn, and who's not afraid to ask questions. And I'd say this, if you are interviewing anywhere, if there's a silent moment during the interview, or if you are not asking questions, there's definitely no sign of interest, at least from the recruiter standpoint or the job hirer standpoint, that you're interested in that position. So don't be afraid to ask questions. That's the best advice I can ask, even when you do have the job. Ask as many questions as you can. And yeah, there you go.
Thank you. And for you, Katerina?
Well, I can speak about the FMCG industry and retail business. So if you are applying for a marketing job, it can be junior brand manager or an intern. What we do in JD is that there is a case study which you need to present and prepare. So this is how you will show how you think about the case and how innovative you are. Then you need to fill in a test for logic thinking, and then there is the interview. So basically you are tested in all the soft skills which you will learn in the IOG, right? Presenting, how you speak, how you can organize your thoughts, all these kind of things. And of course, if you have some experience in the field, it's always a plus. And I think, our company is not so dogmatic about your experiences. You're more focused on, about your mindset, how you will cope with others in the team. And we just, want to make the team work. So it's not very dogmatic, if you don't have 3 years of experience, you won't get this job, etc.
And for you, Nadia, but before talking about your recruitment process, maybe because I know you very good now, and I have been supporting you during your all job research. Maybe you can tell us about the main difficulties that you faced during your job research until the recruitment process.
The main difficulty I feel is being able to making yourself look more competitive. It's the competency between a lot of candidates. And I feel like the difficulty was researching what field you actually want to go in inside a department. It's very important. And it was quite difficult because you have the private sector and you have the international sector, and they're all completely different, but they offer you the same amount of, expertise and knowledge. So understand, like, the difficulty for me was putting my head in the international organization sector and forgetting about the private sector as not being an option. Because if I had it as an option, then I was focused to what I really want to do in my career path. And I mean, as you know, it wasn't very easy. It was very hard. And I can speak from experience, like now that I'm here, and 2 weeks ago, I can share with everyone a video. I held a live event with interns talking about how difficult it is to come into the UN and to the, to this field. And we got people from HR. And currently with the COVID situation, yes, things are on freeze, but they still are looking for more international students. So that already puts all of us in a higher category than people who are already here, for example, because they want people with cultural experiences, with the languages. Looking for an internship was very, very difficult. You gotta just keep on applying. You need to apply to everything. As Jason said, even if you're not interested in that, just apply. Just give it a go, because you'll never know. I mean, I can speak. I was never interested in this specific internship I'm in now. And I remember speaking with Ilyas before I went to the interview, like, what if I got something else? But now that I got it, I'm very happy because I've learned a lot. And I mean, if people want to apply, if you want to apply to the UN or to the international organization, I would recommend networking. They've said it, they've admitted it. My interns group, they all received their internship through their supervisor from volunteering at the UN. So when they volunteered, they met the supervisors and then they put their name down for an internship. So it doesn't always have to go through HR. You don't always have to find someone in HR. You just have to find someone in the department.
Yeah, the recruitment process in the international organization is very complicated, very complex, because they love to respect the process, to respect the steps, and sometimes they are it's very competitive and very difficult, and it could be seen as a very hard process.
And if I can add, there was a mistake, because I can see people on the chat now that they've asked me before about the applying. A mistake everyone makes, the deadline on applications isn't the deadline for them to look at people's applications. The deadline is for the deadline of when that internship has ended. So the second it goes out, you should apply, because they add 6 months, and that's in that 6 months, they're going to find someone. And they're usually going to go for people from the beginning. So don't mistake the deadline as being that's when the internship, you can apply during that day. Apply before. Yeah.
Okay, and I think at a certain time you had to translate your CV in Arabic for.
Oh yeah, thanks to you. That was
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.